Hello, and welcome to the Knit Girls. I'm Laura, also known as Lella.
I'm Leslie, also known as You Don't Call Me Les.
This is episode 428.
And it's February 22nd, 2019. It feels like we practiced this. It feels very like, I'm going to say something and then you're going to say something.
Can we go back and forth a couple times? That would be swell.
I could finish yours. Nope, that didn't work.
Nope. Because then my stubbornness comes out and I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. That's the line in the sand that is being drawn tonight. So, this is a knitting show.
It is.
And both of us are working on sweaters. Some of us for multiple times.
Some of us for the second time. Or fifth, depending.
But you're wearing the sweater today, too.
Oh, yeah. I'm wearing, this is Rolling Rock. This is a Thea Coleman pattern.
That.
Thea is brilliant and makes wonderful timeless stuff. Or designs it, rather.
She makes it, too.
This is out of Hazelknit's DK. This was an SSK colorway.
Yeah,
I forget the
Leslie
colorway
and I
name.
both grabbed a sweater's lot of.
It's like tanzanite or something. It's a
Yes.
gem of some kind.
Mm-hmm. It's
and
really pretty.
the only mod I made was to add a thumb hole in the ribbing for the sleeve. So
That's an older sweater. That's
It
at
is.
least 5 or 6 years old.
I don't know if it's that old. It's pretty close though. Yeah, I mean I knit it several years back, but it's a cold day here, and Michael keeps the house cold, so
It's not necessarily a cold day. It's a rainy and
it's like the 15th
humid,
day in a row it's
yeah.
been raining.
It feels like we moved to Seattle
Yeah.
this year, this winter for us. It's been in like the 50s and raining for 3 months.
Yeah.
And we'll get a day without rain, and then it'll start raining. To the degree that like my back area of my house, my kitchen is just towels laid down for Pearl when she comes in.
It's my backyard's a swamp. Like there's standing water in it for 2 days. It's just insane, and
It makes us a little bit grumpy.
it does, because then having a fence is great because now I can just let the dogs out. Except I have to take 2 or 3 minutes every time I let them back in to clean off their paws.
Yeah. At least your dogs let you touch their paws.
Oh,
Pearl
this is non-negotiable.
Pearl
They want a
is not
cookie,
in
they
that.
stand still.
We're working with Pearl on paws.
Yeah, well,
but
she was a
never
rescue,
liked.
and
Yeah.
I'm sure she's got reasons.
I'm sure there are many.
Anyway,
Yeah.
do you want to go or do you want me to?
It doesn't matter at all to me. I'm just going round and round and round.
So am I. 3, 4.
How many things did you have? Just that one?
I have 2 things. Do you want me to go?
Sure.
Okay. I get to go first.
Because you're the bestest.
I win. It's a race. Except, really, I'm losing because this is the 3rd or 4th time I'm knitting this sleeve.
So if I finish my sweater before you finish your sweater,
I'm
do I
knitting
win
in
a prize?
fingering weight, and you're knitting in bulky weight.
Yeah, but it
so-
hurts my hands. But also, you just have, what, half a sleeve to go?
No, this is the first
Oh.
reknit sleeve. So, who's sick of seeing this sweater? This is the wrought iron sweater. It's by Anna Johanna.
And it was done for you to wear to...
Yeah, I finished it.
Oh, you added length, I feel like.
No.
Okay.
I haven't pulled that one out yet.
So, you did just say that.
I finished it and was weaving in ends at knit night on Wednesday
And we
last
steam
week.
blocked it.
And we steam blocked it, and I tried it on, and the sleeves were just way too tight. And that's kind of my fault because when I changed the pattern, like the pattern says it recommends like 10 or 12 inches of positive ease, and on someone as big as me, I feel like it doesn't look as nice, so I went down in size.
But it went down a sleeve size.
But yeah, so I went down until it was only 4 inches of positive ease. So, and then I stuck with that number for the sleeve measurements when I should have gone back up to my original measurement for the sleeve measurements.
Yeah, you should have made this area
And
longer.
that's my own fault. Well, it's just I should have picked up more stitches for the sleeve.
Okay.
Rather than the number that it gave me for the smaller size I was knitting.
Gotcha. I understand what you're
So,
saying.
of course, I didn't really think about that until it was completely done, and I put it on and couldn't figure out why the sleeves were too tight. And they weren't just a little tight. Like, the yarn was stretched as far as it would go, and still it was too tight. So as much as I detest ripping out, I really want this sweater for me. So I ripped out, well, I didn't do anything that night. I just put it away.
And then we went to Madrona.
Mm-hmm. And several people asked me if I'd finished it, and I said yes.
Because you had.
Because I had. I just didn't say, I didn't want to get into the whole spiel. So if you asked me at Madrona and I said yes, I didn't technically lie to you. I just really didn't want to get into it. So anyway, I got back home and I ripped out the sleeve, and now it's a much bigger sleeve. I have a very large upper arm. I think it's like 16 inches around. So I picked up, and so the pattern tells you how many stitches to pick up, but for the sleeve, but it doesn't tell you, like, a lot of patterns will say pick up 2 and skip the third, or pick up 2 for every 3, or 3 for every 4, or whatever number is.
There's a rate of increase.
This one does not.
Picking up.
But they do give you a number. She does give you a number. But that number didn't work for me because I picked it up and then knit on it for about 2 inches and then tried it on, and it was just way too big. Like, too big for my 16-inch big old fat bicep. So, ripped it out again, and I did a 3 for every 4 pickup, and I'm hoping that's, so far it seems to be okay. It's a little bit loose, but I'm okay with a little bit loose.
Yeah.
So
poor yarn's like, I've been frozen a million times.
It's like very bumpy at this point because I've ripped it and knit it so many times. And the problem is,
excuse me.
So this is the sleeve that I haven't ripped out yet, right? This is, I don't know, like 14 inches, somewhere, I would guess, somewhere around there. And so when I ripped this one out, I just kept the ball that I ripped it out of because I had split the yarn.
Yeah, evenly. Oh, it's not going to be as long.
No. This is what I've got left.
Oh.
So it's going to be shorter. Now, the thing is, I did have a little bit left over after I split it. So I'm going to weigh what I've got left and split that
Split it again, and then you'll just have 2 extra ends to weave in.
Yeah, so this is the sweater that apparently I'm just going to be knitting forever, over and over again.
Go on and on, my friend.
Now that song's going to be stuck in my head. So
You're
thank you
welcome.
for that.
I was singing Baby Shark at school today, too, because I got a shark book.
Baby Shark.
I'll sing it for you later.
Oh, okay.
Everyone in the universe is now hating me. But I'll show you. There's a video and a dance that goes as well.
Oh, goody.
And it's my favorite thing in the world to torment my middle schoolers with. But when you check out a shark book now...
They just know it's coming.
It's just happening.
So... Yeah, I'm really, not super loving that I'm having to knit this again, but it's just the sleeves, so I feel like it's worth it. And there's no shaping or anything. There's decreases along the bottom, but there's no, like, short rows or anything, so.
Your floor is going to be covered with little twigs from my yarn.
I am so used to just having Laura droppings around my house that sounds gross. Just things that she tosses off. Usually it's bits of fiber. So this is the one thing I'm working on. I feel like I've been talking forever. This is the second thing I'm working on. This is what I took with me to Madrona. And this is a Hunter Hammerson pattern.
Oh, yeah.
And it's called Constellate. And it's from her book of Firmament, which we reviewed late last year.
We've got a lot of comments from Muggles at the airport about this.
Yeah. So it's got...
like in a positive way.
Dip stitches, which this is the first time I've done those. It's kind of like knit one below, except it's not at all like that. So
you should buy the book and then you can see.
Yeah. Oh, I have Southwest pretzels. I don't even know why I got these. I don't like pretzels.
I got their Ritz crackers and they went to school with me and I eat them.
Oh yeah, I ate those. So oh crap. Stitches came off the needle. Sorry for that aria I just treated you guys to. So this is out of Bluebonnet. This is a Madeline Tosh Merino Light single. And
Bluebonnet's the colorway?
Yes. And this is what it looks like. So these dip stitches you do
so pretty.
Every, I want to say 6 rows. And they do significantly slow you down because it does take time to create them. But, I mean, they're pretty. And I'm excited to finish this.
Yeah, you're almost there. And you twisted ribbing, right?
Yeah, the brim was twisted ribbing. So it was 3 knits and a twisted purl. And then the pattern called for you to carry that twisted purl up in the pattern. Totally didn't do that. I just switched to regular purls. Because the twisted purl slowed me down so much. And I can't do a twisted purl without looking at my knitting. So, anyway.
Luckily, we had lots of knitting done.
We did have that. So yeah, and that's living in my Matter Root bag that Gwen was kind enough to pick up for me at...
You want another one?
Maryland.
And they're at Maryland this year. I'll pick you up another one.
We'll see. I like this one a lot.
Yeah, because it's got that little hook.
Yeah, and I, would just put it under my arm.
Yeah.
It's also built so that you can, like, set it on a table, and it's got a flat bottom, so that it just sits like a little...
Flat bottom bags.
Yeah. So, anyway. That's what I've been working on. That's it. That's all I got.
I thought you had 2.
1, 2.
Oh.
Hat, sweater.
You do. Oh, counting.
Teacher of the year.
Tired teacher of the year. It's book fair time. I had 6th graders, plus we had some teachers call out that didn't get subs. So I had them for a little bit too.
God, that's huge already.
See, I think it's too small.
I do not think that will be a problem.
I think we'll get to that in a second. So,
when I saw her 2 days ago, it hadn't even been joined in the round. You were getting close. You were a few rows away. But you hadn't even joined it in the round at knit night when I left.
Oh. Okay. So, I thought I had... Okay. This is the bulky easy one.
By Hobie Locatelli.
Yeah, and I'm using Brooklyn Tweed Quarry yarn, which I will not use again. It is a woolen spun yarn. I knew that going in. So structurally, it's not very sound.
It's not as strong as your typical yarn.
Okay, or strong.
But again, you knew that going in.
Yeah, I knew that going in.
And it's that way because that makes it lighter and airier and warmer.
So when they spin the singles, they don't. I'm just shredding it, and now I'm gonna throw it on your floor. Yeah, I'm not. I'm gonna sit it right there. I'm gonna make a little Grinch mustache out of it.
It's intentionally that way.
Yeah. So I'm a thrower, so it's actually not giving me a lot of issue. I feel like if you're a picker, you might be taking out all the twist that's in there. Because throwers and pickers
add and subtract
twist differently. And Jillian Marino knows a lot about that. She's super smart. So it also will felt super easily. Things that I don't like about this yarn. I mean, I'm not having an issue with it falling apart, but I am like being extremely careful with zippers and other things. I keep splitting the stitches. So it's a 3-ply and it's very loosely spun, so it's really, really easy to split.
It kind of looks like pin drafted roving.
Yes, I would agree with that. It is very like spongy.
Yeah, it's got a lot of like bounce back.
I think it's a Columbia Targhee blend, but also there's a lot of little bits of like wood.
Notice how she just flicked that over.
Yep. Wood veg matter in it. When I chose my size for this, it's supposed to have, I think, 12 inches of ease built in. I didn't want quite that much, but I went by my armhole measurement because I wanted to fit in my arms.
That's an important part, yeah.
So I actually increased the armhole depth to 7.5 inches on both sides, so it'll be 15, and my upper arm measurement is 14. I've got a weird stitch on one side, picking up stitches. So this column at the top is made by this like line of stitches by picking up from the wrong side, and that was interesting. And
picking up from because you did the back and then the front.
Yeah,
the front
so you do like
okay.
7.5 inches for the back. Put that on a holder.
Right.
And you can see my gauge difference from knitting in the round
Yeah.
versus... So I think so worries with this about gauge. So the swatch was knit flat because the top was knit flat. I think it's pulling in.
At the top or at the bottom?
At the bottom. For knitting in the round.
Do you think that, but just because it's on a needle that's smaller?
It could be. But the stitches also, I feel like, look
they
bigger.
just look more even to me.
Yeah, going round and round and round.
You know, the ones on the bottom do look a little bit smaller than the ones at the top.
So that's a concern. But if I leave the water in there when I block it, I feel like I'll be able to get some stretch from the heaviness of the water. So when I block it, I'm going to block it sideways.
I mean, it doesn't look significantly different. And it could just be the evenness that's fooling the eye.
So at the top, I have 8 inches of ease. When I measure further down, now this is also kind of getting the scrunch up from the...
Being on the needles.
Being on the needles factor, but it was 48, which is 2 inches of ease. Still ease. So we'll see.
Did your swatch grow?
Not significant. Yeah, I did. I don't think it grew significantly. So, but also a swatch is not this big.
Right, yeah. And swatches are liars anyway. So.
Yeah. So how much I have left? I am 3 total skeins into this. This is my 4th. I have 7 of these. Each of them are 200 yards. I'm trying to get this done for House Cup, which ends Thursday. So I have 6 more days of knitting,
almost
essentially.
a week, yeah.
So when I did the math, that's 150 yards a day, which is a lot.
It is, but it's doable for you. Especially if you, like, power through a little extra over the weekend.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping to get, I'm going to use 1 skein for each of the sleeves, I think.
That's smart to set aside that.
So this is my 4th. I'll have 1 more skein after this for the body.
So do you think maybe you finish that skein, then do the sleeves to see if each sleeve needs a whole one? And then do the rest of the body?
I could do that.
I mean, it's kind of a stop, start method, but if you already have to join anyway when you're done with that skein, you could get some extra length if you need it.
Yeah. Well, right now, I feel like I've been knitting on this forever, but it's only 8 inches past the...
I'm sorry, what?
It's only 8 inches past the armhole, which means I'm not getting gauge right now because 20 rows, I did 40 rows on this since Wednesday from underarm. So that should be, that should be 8 inches. I feel like I've done more than a 40. Anyway, I'd have to count. So using my scale, and this is someone asked, how do you figure out like your knitting time and percentages? It's all math and using scales and timers on my phone. Sometimes Alexa. Using my scale, each round around right now takes 3 grams, which is 6 yards. And it takes 7 minutes.
And there's no shaping on it, right?
No shaping. So I'm almost getting a yarn a minute. A little bit less.
Laura loves her symmetrics.
I do. So that's 200 minutes a skein.
So that's almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
Wait.
A little bit more. I would say.
A little bit more, yeah. 180 is 3 hours.
Yeah, I would say like 100, like 3.5 hours is a skein. But I can't do it back to back. Like I can't just zip around with it because my wrist starts hurting after around 30 minutes because it's on size 8s.
Plus, unless you're really careful about how you knit, you're carrying the weight of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
and that's not good for your wrists.
So ideally, I'd like to get 3.5 done. Well, it's not tonight. I'd like to get another hour in tonight because we're gonna watch Drag Race, which I think was an hour. It might be a 2-hour show.
Hour and a half, maybe.
Okay. So that would give me 10 rows done. I'd like to get through the body this weekend. That would be my ideal world. And onto one sleeve, like stitches picked up, ready to roll on a sleeve. So I can try it on.
Yeah.
And really see how it needs to be blocked. It is definitely more dense than my boxy was.
The worsted.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'd also like, now it's like 65 for the next week here, and then it goes down to like 40 next Sunday. So I'd love to be able to wear it on that 40-degree day. Well, I possibly can still wear it. There's also a neckband that has to be picked up and knit as well, but it's just real small. Which is good, because I need my head to fit through it. It fits through now. I totally tried it on while I was at work to make sure my head fit through, because that's important. I think that's about it. I'm knitting this with Knitter's Pride needles, which are doing okay, and the 40-inch cord.
You just have to be careful not to put too much weight on that cord.
Yeah, well,
it's also... Is that your experience with it? Like,
it's untwisted. Like, now that there's more weight, the needles are starting to untwist themselves. Which is interesting, because they weren't, like, at the top at all, and now that there's weight on them, they're starting to untwist.
Poor yarn. It's, like,
so
modeled.
Sad.
Yeah.
So this is the easy, bulky one. I would knit this again, and there's a fingering weight version. I think I would knit it again for that, because it is a pretty simple pattern. It'd be, like, good SSK knitting once you got past the sleeves. You're just going round and round.
I love that you think that every year you think you're going to get knitting time
at SSK.
Yeah. And you might get an hour total over the course of 4 days.
Maybe. Yeah. Oh well.
Every year.
Hope springs eternal. So, I don't know the origin of that phrase. I'll have to look it up. Anyway. That's that. Other things that I've been working on. I did not start my wristers, although I have the yarn here, and it's still very pretty. I'm going to try to get those started this next week. Some fingerless mitts out of the Yarn Fairy and the Pixies in the Purple Rust colorway, because it's so pretty. It wants to be on my needles. Other things. Oh, I have a scarf that I started. So years ago, when Ravelry was new, I knit one of my father's friends. She was in the hospital with pneumonia, and I knit her a scarf. And her husband felted it this winter.
Just recently, yeah.
Yeah, this winter, and asked if I could knit another one. And luckily, I had Ravelry, and I kept notes as to what the pattern was, because I would never have found this again. This is the Liesel scarf. And I'm knitting it out of Malabrigo. Just their worsted single ply in the orchid colorway. I'm 9 repeats done.
Out of 20-something, right?
Yeah, I think we decided on the plane. I kind of did the math, and I figured out it would be like 27 would be the ideal length. And I think these are size 7 needles.
Cool.
Yeah. Not dense at all. So I'm hoping to get this done and blocked. I still have a long way to go. That's how much yarn I have left.
That's a Whimsy Stitches bag.
Yeah, it's a free pattern on Ravelry, and I'm keeping it in this really cool. This is my favorite of Rick's bags that I've ever gotten. This little Whimsy Stitches bag that's like patchwork at the top and woven gray at the bottom. The only thing that would make this bag better is if it was like hand-woven fabric at the bottom.
You know what I was thinking about? This ugly window behind me with these ugly blinds?
Yeah.
I'm going to take some hand spun and weave it and make curtains, I think. But I'm going to take like several different skeins.
Yeah, I think you would probably need several different skeins. And then what I knit on mostly when we were out of town. You okay?
Yeah, I just lost a stitch marker. It dove right off my needles.
I knit on my socks. So these are in the dark in the rental car on the way home. I knit a couple stitches and then decided at like 4 a.m. that this was 3 a.m. it was a terrible idea. These are the Strawberry Shortcake socks by Desert Vista Dye Works. This is...
That's sock number 2.
Yeah, the Wendy Johnson top with a gusset. This is sock 2. This is sock 1. I have red to go. I'm right here. I have red to go, red stripe, pink stripe, and then ribbing. And this will be done. I've been intentionally not working on these since I got home because I have a meeting at work on Tuesday for 2 hours about budgetary concerns. So I'm going to note on this during that as I listen to that. So that is the plan. I'm also going to get us ice cream afterwards.
Sweet.
And pay for my car tag because I'm going to be in Hernando. And all those things have to happen on the same time.
You get your tags in Hernando?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because I used to live in Hernando.
Yeah.
And I know where that place is. Oh. Is there some place up here that you can pay for tags?
It's South Haven, but it's like way up at 51 State Line. That's the only place I knew in the county you could get them.
Really?
Yeah.
See? Joey Treadway, his main office is in Hernando.
Oh.
Yeah. I didn't know you could pay anywhere else.
Yeah.
See, I'm learning things. That is it for me. For In Progress, I have no finished objects and no spinning.
I have spinning and a finished object.
Look at you.
I am carrying the show.
It's about time.
So Laura and I have a new wheel that we're going to talk about soon. But I just
It was sent to us to review.
Right, yes. It was sent to us to review. It's a Starling wheel, and it's by Daedalus. Is that how you say it? Daedalus?
Daedalus.
It's...
Icarus's son.
Yeah.
Is that where we got that? We looked it up? I think so.
And they are going to be in a booth at SSK along with Spotted U Fibers. It's a husband and wife. And the husband designed and made these wheels. He's also got another one called a Blackbird, and they're electric wheels. And they're designed primarily to be as silent as possible.
Yep, and they're 3D printed.
Mm-hmm. Most of them are.
Yep.
Most of the parts are, rather. There is some carbon fiber, and the motor, of course, isn't 3D printed.
Yep, they're super light, though.
Yeah.
I would say maybe 5 pounds at most.
The little one that we have now is barely 2.
Oh, wow.
And then the other one, which we don't have yet, is 2.5. I had to look it up online because I picked up the box. It came today. I picked up the box and I was like, "Is this empty?" Like,
yeah.
Anyway, so we'll do a separate conversation about that.
Yeah.
But I started spinning. This is what the wheel or the bobbins look like, and this fiber is just got it at Madrona. It was close by.
Oh yeah.
So it won. This is from Homestead Hobbyist, and it is a...
You had some interesting blends.
I think it's some kind of wool. I want to say merino and 25% black Welsh and 25% alpaca. So,
oh no.
It does have some fuzzy bits in it, but I tried to make it even. We'll see when I finish spinning the other half of it. But, so that's the spinning. And then I have finished objects, but they're actually woven finished objects. So, I showed you guys the fabric that I had woven a couple weeks ago, or maybe last week, I don't remember.
I think it was last week.
And so I did the finishing work on these last night while I was re-listening to My Dad Wrote a Porno.
Which is a podcast.
Season 2. Yes, it is a podcast. It's a British podcast. It is really funny if you haven't listened to it already. The first episode or 2 are not my favorite, but after that, like, the chemistry between the 3 of them really kind of melds gels, well. Yeah. Smell nice. So Soak makes a pressing spray called Flatter.
Yeah.
And I have the Celebration set.
It's the best.
So as I was pressing these, I was spraying them. So anyway, this was a kit from Halcyon Yarns. I'll link it in the show notes. I want to say it was somewhere in the like $40 range. I did a plain weave on it, which is what it calls for.
But you warped, so that's where the colors come from, right?
Yeah, the colors. It did call for you to alternate colors in the weft. I just didn't do that. Because I was...
a lot of ends to weave in.
You know, I was just messing with my my new loom, so I just wanted to get used to, like...
how it works.
How it beat and advancing the warp and all that.
I love weaving terms.
I know.
They're so violent.
So, when I took it off the loom, I took it to my sewing machine and sewed down the ends, and then washed it, just like I would with all my other towels. I didn't treat it anything special, and it fold up. It like when you're weaving, there's little spaces between the fabric, but as the cotton, this is cotton, as it plumps up, it fills in those spaces. So I brought it back upstairs after it had been washed and dried and measured out how many towels I could get out of it. I ended up being able to get 6. And then I pressed the ends over an inch and then tucked in the other ½ inch and just sewed it down with a simple straight stitch. I decreased my stitch length a little just to make sure that I caught every thread. But yeah, I'm going to put them in the regular rotation. That way I can sort of
see how they
last, how they wear, what I need to be looking for as I go forward.
That's important.
I'm happy with them. I think they turned out well for my first project on a new loom. Anyway, I don't particularly love the colors, but I mean they're just a very.
They match your kitchen though.
Yeah, they do. That orange is the color of my kitchen walls, and I hate it lots. But I can't find anything else that
goes with the
that
orange
goes
tiles.
with the tile, which is sort of a brown with orange accents, and then the cabinets as well. So I'm kind of hosed there. Also, I hate painting, so I don't hate the color enough to do anything about it.
So you have pretty tall ceilings and lots of cabinets.
I just want to keep sniffing these because they smell like celebration. Every time I wave them around, I get a waft.
A whiff.
I'm wafting.
There you go.
So yeah, that's my only finished thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm listening to the Parker Inheritance and enjoying it lots.
Is that a YA?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a middle grade.
Okay.
So, did you ever read The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin?
That sounds familiar, but no.
It's a mystery that's kind of like they have to like solve this puzzle to win an inheritance.
Okay.
It's kind of based on that same principle, except it's in South Carolina. It's a girl who's sent from Atlanta to live in her grandmother passed away 2 years prior, to live in her house with her mother because her parents are going through a divorce and they're fixing up the house before they sell it. So there's like lots of contractors coming through. So she's sent to live with her mom in this small town in South Carolina. And her grandmother had this house, but then it became a rental property because her grandmother was searching for the same treasure and ended up digging up a tennis court illegally. Like, she worked for the city council. She was the first African-American female, like, city council member in the region. And she dug up this tennis court without permission, spent taxpayer money, and was fired trying to solve this mystery.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think how else. So it's this girl, and then the next door neighborhood boy who's being bullied. There's these other boys that are constantly, that repeated behavior of like constantly following him and pushing him into bushes, and like it's an ongoing issue.
Yeah. That's
been going on since school let out. And they talk about like getting bullied at the end of the school year is the worst because it, like, usually, in their words, like getting bullied, they move on to a new target. But when you're the last one at the last day of school, then it just travels with you over the summer, which I'd never thought about before. One thing that I really like about this book, and this author has other books too, The Great Green Heist was also written by him, and this one, the Coretta Scott King Honor Award this year. I really like the narrator who does the reading, and I also really like, they go to the library at one point early on, and it's kind of their first encounter. Like, the mom takes the two of them, and their mom's a published author. Her mom's a published author. Takes the two of them to the library, and he's looking at books and she's looking at books, and he doesn't want to show her what he's looking at, and there's this comment made about boy books and girl books.
Yeah.
And she makes it very clear that there are no boy books, there are no girl books, there are just books, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
So he ends up, but he's so embarrassed that she ends up checking out all the girl books, and he checks out all the boy books. So it kind of goes into that gender stereotyping as well.
Yeah.
It's really a good read. I'm enjoying it a lot. It's a listen for me. And the narrator is really well, doing it really well. I have like 9 hours left on it. I think it was 11:30 total. And it goes back to the library. The library's going to snatch it back in 5 days. But luckily, I have a lot of knitting to do. So when we're not hanging out, I'm going to be listening to that. But it does remind me of the Westing game, like a very southern, but it also talks about social problems from the past and current social problems, as well as the gender stereotyping and other things. It's a really well-written book. I'm enjoying it. And it's one that I definitely can see myself book talking with much more clarity to my students.
Well, so, when you actually finish reading it, you know.
Yeah.
It'll be easier to talk about it.
Yeah. For sure. I think I read Pneumonia. I think that's how you say it. It's a graphic novel. It is. Let me find my phone. I forgot to put in the show notes, but it was a really funny, good read. I don't know where I put my phone either. Oh, there it is. I put it on my Goodreads. It is about a girl who wants to be this villain sidekick. It reminds me of Despicable Me in a lot of ways. And it is a graphic novel. Pneumonia.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. But also it goes into what is good, what is evil, what makes a monster. So there's also some depth to it as well. And I'm trying to get my friend Chad to read it. But he hates fantasy and he's not a huge fan of graphic novels, so we'll see.
Wow, the odds are against you, my friend.
Well, we both recommend books to each other that are like stretch reads for each other in order to get us out of our little boxes that we end up reading in all the time. For me, it's the fantasy sci-fi box.
Paranormal.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, I've still been re-listening to Kate Daniels. I'm on the 9th one. I'm close to the end of it. I finished rereading How to Be a Normal Person and read How to Be a Movie Star. Both were very good. They're both by T.J. Klune. I would recommend them to Laura, except the main characters end up embarrassed a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And she gets uncomfortable with that. So does Michael, apparently.
Huh.
Who knew?
Michael's your husband, for people who don't know.
What else have I been reading? That's all I can think of. Yeah, so we went to Madrona.
We did. We enjoyed the flight out there with Mama Linneman.
I would say enjoyed is a strong word.
We survived the flight out there.
We didn't have
Mama
any real
Linneman.
issues besides some turbulence.
Yeah, it was pretty bumpy on our way out. And then we got there Thursday afternoon. We hung out with my grandma quite a bit. We took some naps because we had to get up at like 6 a.m.
Oh, we had to get up at like 3
a.m.
to get to the airport
our
for a flight at 6.
So it was quite early of a day for us. Friday, we were going to Madrona because Mama Linneman was taking classes all day with
Kate Larson.
Yes, and really, really enjoyed her classes. And we're going there, and I'm flipping through Instagram as I do. Usually it's like with this thumb motion. And I saw Clemis and Clemis posted that they were all set up for their class. And I went, oh.
Because we went there with the assumption that our class was on Saturday.
For some reason, I got it stuck in my brain.
And I never checked
Saturday.
It. Yeah, because I just assumed Laura.
And it wasn't. It was Friday.
Knew what
so
she was talking about.
Kind of like threw together real fast posts on Instagram and Ravelry that we weren't going to be hanging out a ton on Friday. We were. We hung out with some people during lunch and before class and after class a little bit. But we weren't just sitting and knitting like we had anticipated.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. The class was fabulous.
Yeah, it was really good.
We learned a lot about the history of drum carters. This was exploring drum carters with Clemis and Clemis. The history of drum carters, the mechanics of drum carters.
Do's and don'ts.
Yeah, and we learned basically how to drum card, which neither of us had ever been anything but self-taught on that.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting. For me, I found it especially helpful because I own a Clemis and Clemis Carter, so I really got to see, oh, that's what that does.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what we do. Like, how does the doffer work, and how does, like, this work? So it was super helpful for that. We carded 4 total bats
Mm-hmm.
of 1 ounce each.
Mm-hmm.
One was a Border Leicester that we carded more worsted prep. One was
And
CVM.
3 were, we used the motorized versions, and 1 we did the hand carding.
Yeah, and that first
not
one we
hand
did
carding, but
the manual crank. The second one was CVM, like
Yes.
a baby fleece, because it still had the baby tips.
Lamb. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, and that one we did more woolen, like 45-degree angles to
Mm-hmm.
get it all jumbled. The next one was... What was it?
I
Did
forget.
we just do
the
3?
last one was the different fibers.
Yeah, we just combined fibers. Did we do 3 or 4? Maybe we just did 3.
No, we did 4. I can't remember what the third one was. Oh, the third one was the one where we did the gradient.
Oh yeah, we pulled off. That's why, because it wasn't
Diz.
really. I must have your Diz Droving then somewhere. Maybe I don't.
I managed to squeeze one of them in my bag, so it might be that one.
Okay. We dizzed off the drum carder, which is really, really interesting, and then the fourth one was just kind of a
Mishmash of different
just
fibers.
throw stuff together and see how you can card it,
Mm-hmm.
which was also fun. So we did around 4 ounces total of carding. And that was a 6-hour class. It was a lot of time on our feet.
Yeah.
So if you have some health concerns where you couldn't stand for 6 hours, that would be a difficult class to take.
Well, I mean, like, we had a lady beside us who couldn't stand for extended periods, so she just would take a break and sit down for a little while and spend that time prepping the fiber. So.
Yeah, like opening
Yeah.
the locks.
I will say, the 2 guys, Henry is the father and Roy's the son, and Henry started the business in the 70s, I think, and did several different woodworking related things over the years, and now their primary job is drum carters. That's what they focus on. There's a lot of other things like in the works, but
and they sell wheels and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but not the majority of the business is hand cards, the
drum
awesome
carters.
boards that we have,
blending boards.
and the drum carters.
Yeah. I will also say that if you own anything besides the Clemis and Clemis and you really love it, you should not take their class. Because
they're going to tell you everything that's wrong
Yes.
with it. That's true.
and I mean, they won't do it in a way that will make you feel bad, but it's very subtle. Well, not so much. But they basically have set this class up in such a way that it is very difficult to leave and not want to spend $2,000 on a drum carter.
Yeah, on the electric carter.
Yeah. So,
I
but it
think
was
they're
still
up
a
over
really
2,000
good.
now.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
like 2,300 now. It's still a really good class.
Yeah.
And the guys were entertaining, so then that always helps.
They have that, like, father-son
Yeah.
dynamic, too. Where Roy calls his father out for not saying things correctly.
forgetting something.
Yeah, it's very funny.
Yeah, they're funny guys. If you get the chance to take a class with them, I
Or just see
recommend
them
it.
in a booth. They do a lot of demos in their booth, which is
Mhm.
really helpful and kind as well.
Yeah. So that was Friday.
Yeah.
Saturday is when we did most of our shopping.
And we sat around quite a bit, but we left a little bit early because you had a headache
Yeah.
that just would not stop.
I had
So
like
if we
a
missed you,
low
we're
grade
sorry.
headache since the day we left for some reason. And it did go away for a while on Saturday evening, and then Sunday happened.
Yeah. So Sunday we woke up to Southwest telling us that they didn't have a plane for our flight.
Yeah, so we were flying out of Seattle with a connection in Chicago, the final destination of Memphis. And our plane from Seattle to Chicago was fine,
Yeah.
but we didn't have a plane going from Chicago to Memphis. And it wasn't rescheduled, it was just canceled.
Yeah, like, I guess Southwest is having mechanical issues.
Which we
where-
didn't know at the time.
Yeah, because we probably wouldn't have booked with them.
Yeah.
But they are canceling flights because they don't have the planes to fill them.
Right. Which is the responsible thing to do. Don't get me wrong.
I don't want to fly on a plane that's not mechanically sound
So
either.
I give them props for that, for just, owning up to it. But yeah, it did make our life very difficult.
So I was on the phone a lot trying to rebook. The people, the operators on the phone were like, well, you can fly out tomorrow and spend all day tomorrow flying. But we really needed to get back. And because my dog was going to be left alone, too, because my father was supposed to leave Sunday. He did stay a little bit later so that he could watch Pearl. But I had pet care issues that had to be resolved. And on the phone, the only option that they were willing to pay for, like, that we had already paid for, was to go out the next day.
Yeah.
So the closest we could get was Nashville. And on the phone, it was going to be $350, like, per person to rebook or something.
I don't remember if it was per together,
yeah,
but yeah.
It was a lot of money. Plus a rental car. But when we got to the airport, the ladies there were super sweet and took care of us. They were wonderful. One of their names was Sadie.
Sadie, yep.
And she was great. And they did not charge us anything to rebook. So we ended up flying, instead of going to Chicago, we went to Denver.
Yep.
And we left Denver. We had a 2-hour layover there. And we flew to Nashville. That was the closest that we could get. There were no flights going to Little Rock or St. Louis.
Yeah, and we landed in Nashville at around 11 at night.
Yep. It took like 45 minutes to get our luggage. It was a little bit slow.
We rented a car, and, well, I had rented a car as soon as we found out what we were doing.
Yeah.
Earlier in the day, and rented a car and drove the trip that was supposed to take 3.5 hours, took just under 3.
Yeah. And Leslie was going very fast. And that was with a stop, too.
Yeah.
Because we stopped to get soda at one point.
Yeah.
So we could stay awake. And, yeah, we got in around 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Well, I got in around 3 a.m. You got in around 3:15 because Leslie dropped me off first. And I slept all day Monday.
I slept most of the day. Like, I got up at, like, 9 o'clock, so I slept from around 3:30 until 9, and I got up for a little while, and then I was like, man, I'm tired. So I took a nap, and then I got up, and then around 7 o'clock, I was like, man, I'm tired.
Yeah.
So, off and on, I did sleep most of the day.
Weezy woke me up at 6 when he left. Or 5:30 when he left, something like that.
And Pearl was like, yay!
And then she was all sad because Oppo is the only one who loves her enough to take her for multiple walks a day.
Yeah.
Well, it's also in the rain.
Yeah.
Mommy is not willing to do that.
Yeah.
You have a fenced-in backyard, kiddo. So
this explains to you why we're recording on a Friday.
That is why.
Just with other obligations, it was really the only time we could make it work, so.
Yeah. I had obligations Tuesday and Wednesday, and then last night.
Yeah.
It's
so,
just
and we have,
crazy.
Sorry, I'm not picking my nose. I'm scratching the top of it because it's really itchy for some reason. So we have a monthly knit night, or virtual knit night. It's actually going to happen at noon on Sunday.
Yep.
And we already notified, the people.
The Patreon people.
Yep.
So thank you, Patreons, for your support.
Yes.
And there's different levels on Patreon that you can support. And we also sent out a newsletter this week, too.
Yes, our first one. So if you don't know what Patreon is, it's essentially a way to kind of like pledge a dollar amount per whatever. For us, it's per episode, but other places do it like per month or per week or whatever. For us, it just feels the most fair to do it per episode because sometimes we may go a month and only have 2 episodes.
Yeah.
So we don't want you to.
And it also gives us incentive to record.
Yes.
Because otherwise this week we might have been like,
Just
maybe not.
It. Yeah. But anyway, if you're interested, you can find us on Patreon. There is a link in the group description on Ravelry. There's also a link on the homepage of our website, TheKnitGirlls.com with 3 L's. There are different levels of support. Everybody that supports us, no matter what the amount, gets to watch us fail at something once a month.
Yeah. And that's coming up as well, correct?
Yes, that'll be next week. One of the evening days. I'm not sure.
Okay.
We have to figure it out. But, and then there's the newsletter level, and then there's the
VKN level.
VKN level.
And then there's the executive director.
Yes, where we do a co-executive creative geniuses where your name gets on the screen and we thank you every week.
Yep. By your name being on the screen.
So for everyone that has supported us, that wants to support us in the future, or that just enjoys watching us, we appreciate you.
Yes.
Very much.
Thank you.
It really makes it easier for us to actually do the things that we want to do for you guys. So
yeah.
What else? Is that everything? I feel like it is.
I feel like it might be. So VKN this Sunday at noon.
Which is Central Time.
Yes, so it would be 1 Eastern or...
Next month we'll do it in the evening.
Yeah.
We try to alternate.
Yeah, this way sometimes earlier is better for the people who are overseas.
Yeah.
It just depends.
So, yeah, I think that's it.
Okay.
So we will see you guys in probably less than a week.
Yeah.
Perhaps I will have finished my sweater again.
Perhaps I will finish my sweater first.
That's probably true. It's a sweater race. Laura will definitely win.
I don't think that's true. I have a lot more to go than you do.
Yeah, but like a row for you is like 4 yards of fabric, and a row for me is like...
It's 8 yards.
Whatever.
6 to 8.
And a row for me is like 1.5 yards. So, anyway. You guys have a lovely week, and we will talk to you again next week.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.